You be the judge. Do you think that was replaced? Yes, that just shows you right there. You can never trust the dealership. It's getting a little fumey in here. I don't think they changed that. That's scummy thing to do. These people, they're predatory. I bought this vehicle with 175,500 kilometers on it. Right now, it's got 176,300 on it. So I've driven it less than 1,000 kilometers, somewhere around 800. When I bought this, it came with a slip of paper saying that all the fluids were changed on it. I'm gonna do an honesty check on that and see whether or not you can trust a car dealership when they give you a guarantee that everything's been serviced. I'm gonna start off by pulling the dipstick here. That way, when I pull the drain plug, everything can vent out. I think there's a bunch of like plastic fasteners and clips and stuff that need to come off. Got all of my little plastic fastener tools there. I think for the oil and filter, I don't even need to drop this whole thing down. Might be doing the diff today too, but I believe for that, everything's gonna have to come off. And that is just fantastic. So we've got all these little push fasteners, which is fantastic. I'm gonna grab a pair of safety glasses. Every time I'm under one of these things, I get dirt in my eyes. I made sure to grab the ones with the most scratched up lenses just to make this difficult for myself. There's one, not broken. We've got people working in a garage that are just trying to get things done as quick as possible. What they'll do is they'll break these clips and they'll put the bare minimum amount back in, just enough so you drive out and you can't say anything about it. There's another reason why I don't trust garages really, because you don't really know. The average person that goes to a garage, they're pretty much just taking the service advisor's word for it that everything's done properly. Not every mechanic that works at a service shop is lazy or terrible, but there's enough of them out there that just kind of half-ass things that they've created a bit of a stereotype, and people that like to do things in their own garage don't trust them. I already doubt that they did the transfer case on the front. So the front diff and the transfer case are one solid unit, and I believe that this vehicle takes less than 1 quart between the front transfer case / differential and the rear differential. My Tundra, on the other hand, that has a capacity of like, I think it's 7 or 8 quarts between both diffs. I was gonna do the diffs on the truck this weekend, but none of the shops in town have enough of the gear oil that I'm looking for. I like using the AMSOIL stuff. There we go. There's the belly pan out. AC Delco, okay. So I bought this vehicle from a GM dealership, and they deal with a lot of Delco parts. So that's a little bit of a telltale. They probably ordered that in. Time to drain the oil. A lot of these have a 17mm head, and that's what we're dealing with. Well, that wasn't over tightened. We're hoping for a nice gold color on the oil here. Oh no, I don't think they changed that. Fresh oil, you'd be able to see through. Next thing that's gonna come out here is this oil filter. There's probably gonna be a little bit more oil pour out after I pull that off. There that goes. Let that do its thing before I pull it off. Get this filter off. There we go. Verdict so far is I don't think that oil has been changed since the dealership took over ownership of that vehicle. I do not think that was done 800 kilometers ago. Yeah, the oil just came out too dirty for that. While the rest of that oil drains out, we're gonna cut apart this filter and have a look and see if there's any sort of like shavings or anything on the inside. This is definitely not the right way to be doing this. My thought process here is if I can cut around the circumference of the lower part here, then I can hopefully just pull this paper element out. I got this old griddle pan here that I warped on the oven. And instead of throwing it in the garbage, I figured I'd bring it out in the garage for stuff like this. They do make a specific tool for this, but I don't have it. Maybe I will buy one of the tools for this. Almost there. Okay. Garbage. That glue top off. I'm just pulling the pleats apart here now. And at first glance, I don't see any sort of like shining particle in there, so that's a good sign. It just looks like regular junk in between the pleats there. I don't see any large metal chips or anything. This is most definitely not a new oil filter. We'll call that myth busted. Next thing I need to do is put a new crush washer on that drain plug, torque it up underneath. I'm going to pre-fill my oil filter because it's a vertical mount. measure out the amount of oil that needs to go in the engine, pour it in, and that's good. And after that, I'll do the diffs. We've got my drain plug with a brand new crush washer on there. Thread this into its home, and the torque spec on that is 23 to 30 foot-pounds. All right, that's torqued. I like to run Napa Gold filters because they're made by Wix, at least for the time being. Apparently that might be changing sometime soon. And be using my usual AMSOIL. This is just the OE stuff. Just pour enough in there, let that fill up to the top, and then soak into the pleats. And then I'll check it again. That to kind of settle at the top. A little more. Use that to lubricate the seal. And I already verified on the bottom of the engine that the old seal is gone. That will do. Probably don't need to put the cap back on this, but I am clumsy and I do not want to knock that over. Now I'm gonna get this oil filter on there. Hopefully not spill any oil in the process. Thread that on nice and easy. Make sure I'm not gonna cross thread. These only need to be hand tight. 25, 30 foot-pounds. And then draw an arrow right to my drain plug. And I'm gonna put a witness mark on the drain plug. I'll do the same thing on the oil filter. Write today's date on there, 2026. Got my witness mark, I got the date, and I've got my torques written underneath there. So now it's time to fill the oil from the top. Pull off this engine cover, make life a little bit easier here for myself. As this manual online says that with an oil filter replacement, to put 4.5 liters of oil in this thing. I'm gonna fill this thing up to 4.5 liters and then just pour it in. This is the oil that came out of my vehicle, and this is brand new oil. You cannot convince me that this has less than 1,000 kilometers on it. That is dirty. I'm very glad that I've gone ahead and done this oil change myself, because that dealership, they did not do an oil and filter change to this. Not a chance. Between the dirt in the pleats on that filter and this dirty oil, no way. Absolutely not. Yeah, that's a scummy, scummy thing to do. And I love this thing. Yeah, so it just shows you right there. You can never trust the dealership. Let me know in the comments what you would do in this situation. Would you get a hold of the dealership? Would you not bother? What would you do? I'm curious, because I feel like that was egregious enough that something should be done. There's everyday people out there that, you know, they're not necessarily mechanically inclined, that you know, this kind of stuff happens to, and there's worse things that dealerships pull than this, and people end up paying the price for it. It's disgusting. When you go and you buy a vehicle from a dealership and they hand you a piece of paper saying that they performed services to a vehicle and they blatantly didn't, that's just disgusting. Honestly, that ticks me off so much that I can't even think of a good word for like how much that makes me angry. My dipstick out. I'm gonna verify my oil level, and I'm gonna run this thing for a minute. We're between the two holes on the dipstick. Should be good to start this thing up. And while this thing's running, I'm gonna crawl underneath and do a quick leak check. I'm not gonna bother bringing the camera down. All right, time to crawl underneath here. So what I did right there is I held the RPM at 2,000, 20 or 30 seconds. That way I know that the oil pressure was able to increase. Now I'm gonna go underneath and make sure that there's nothing leaking. Totally forgot to open the garage door. It's getting a little fumey in here. Yeah, that's a free high right there. Double check my oil level. We are good. Now I'm gonna do the diffs. That should be fun. Install this engine cover. That's good. I'm gonna crawl underneath and I'm gonna drain the diffs. I'll drain the diffs into the same mason jar that I had my clean oil in. That way I can show you guys what the condition of that gear oil is when I'm done. I'm gonna get at that and I'll return in a minute. I thought I had everything to do this job, but I'm missing a 23mm wrench. The drain and fill plugs for the front transfer case and the rear differential. The fills, those are 23mm, and the drains, those are 24mm. A 15/16 will fit on the 24mm, but it fits just a little bit too loose on the 23. So I'm gonna run out to Canadian Tire, I'm gonna grab a 23mm wrench, and I'll get back at this. Probably gonna be about 45 minutes out of my time, and maybe about like 3 seconds out of yours till you see me again. So I'll catch you in a minute. I just got home, I've got the drain and the fill plugs loosened off on the rear diff there. So I figured I'll just set the camera up while I'm draining the fluid out of there. I know I said I wasn't gonna do that, but why not? I am gonna capture this as it's pouring out into this mason jar here. I've got a sneaking suspicion that since the engine oil wasn't exactly clean, and they said that they changed it, that there's no way that the diffs were done, because that is a much more difficult job to do. And if they're not changing the engine oil, they ain't doing the diffs. It's time to go back under the automobile here. We got these pre-loosened. There's the drain bolt and the fill bolts up top. Okay, well that's a lot cleaner than I thought that was gonna be. Now I got gear oil all over the floor. While this drains, I'm gonna bring this jar of oil up on the bench and we'll have a look. After seeing some brand new stuff, I highly doubt that was changed. God, I keep getting gear oil on my hands. Oh, it stinks. But once you see the color difference here, yeah, you'll know. So there's some brand new gear oil. And then that's what came out of my vehicle. You be the judge. Do you think that was replaced? I don't think so. Here's another telltale too. There's the drain plug that came out. There's so much stuff on there. That's normal. It is normal to have like some metal pasty stuff on there. Large chunks, not normal. Metallic paste, yeah, it's like normal wear and tear. But if that was done when they said it was done, there would not be a buildup like that. Yeah, I don't think that's been done. I just torqued in my drain plug and now I'm getting ready to fill. So make my life easy, I've got these bags, and what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of snowmobile fuel line. Once I clip the top off this, I'll just shove that over top and squeeze it until oil starts coming out of the rear diff, because that's apparently how that's supposed to work. That should work. Time to go underneath and fill this thing up. Fill procedure for this is you just fill it up until it starts pouring out. Just start squeezing that in. There we go. Starting to drip out now. Grab my new fancy 23mm wrench. Now the torque on these is 29 to 40 foot-pounds. I don't have a 23mm socket, and I also don't have anything that's going to reach up there torque wrench wise. I'm just doing this by feel, trying to be nice and gentle on this. There. Believe we're torqued. Okay, now onto the front. All right, so this is the front transfer case here. This right here, that's the fill plug. There's the drain plug. That's hot. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to loosen off the fill plug first, just to make sure that I'm not screwing myself over. Okay, that loosened off nicely. Wow. That was on there tight. All right, let's see what comes out of here. Looks about the same as the rear end. All right, you tell me. Does this look like it only has like 800 kilometers on it? Because I have my doubts. There's brand new gear oil. And this is what came out of the front. You be the judge. Do these look the same? Does this potentially look like it has less than 1,000 kilometers on it? Like this? It has 0 kilometers on it? Highly doubt it. So I gotta decide here what I'm gonna do. Am I going to email this dealership? Am I going to call them? Something has to be done. These are not brand new fluids. There's no way. And they signed paperwork saying that they did all the servicing, and clearly they didn't. They're doing this stuff to everyday people that don't even know how to do this. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing how to do this, but if I let this go long enough, or if I took their word for it, then what? What happens if something goes wrong with this? These people, they're predatory. It's disgusting what they're doing to people. I am disgusted. The sales team at that dealership, they were incredible. I couldn't ask for two better people to deal with, between the lady in the financing place that took my cash and the girl that I dealt with for buying this. But whoever's running the back shop there and just pencil whipped the servicing on this, shame on them. That's so wrong. So here's the drain plug from the front differential transfer case. And we've got a little bit of sludge on there. Nothing concerning. No big chips. Just like that regular old metallic paste. But there's no way that that has 800 kilometers on it. There's no way. I can't believe they're doing this to people. It disgusts me. Anyway, I am going to clean this up. I'll torque that on there. I'm not gonna bother bringing the camera down. I'll top it up and I'll come back to the camera once I've got all this buttoned up underneath and ready to come off the ramps. I'm gonna do a little transparency thing here. So here's the ad for the vehicle when I bought it. There is the mileage that it had when I bought it. Now I'm gonna take you to the car here. I'll flash it up and we'll have a look at the mileage on the dash. 176,376. Less than 1,000 kilometers on this vehicle since I bought it a couple weeks ago. Oil doesn't tend to go bad just sitting there. This is the engine oil that they said was just changed. This is from the front transfer case / differential that they said was just changed. And here is the rear differential fluid that they said was just changed. That is the second used vehicle that I bought from a dealership. The first one was not like this. This one, on the other hand, I gotta say I'm pretty disappointed with how they presented this vehicle. I'm gonna have to decide what I'm gonna do here going forward. If anybody has any suggestions, leave them in the comments. I'm more than happy to listen to them, but I think for now, I'm probably gonna draft up an email, send it to the girl that I dealt with in sales. She was great. I wanna be very clear. The girls that I dealt with in sales, they were fantastic. And screw ups like this fluid here, that doesn't reflect what my experience was with the sales team. They have no idea. They're not mechanics. But the dealership, they handed a piece of paper with this car and said that those fluids were changed. I'm just bringing up the Carfax report. So at 175,570 kilometers, they said a maintenance inspection was completed, air filter replaced, key fob battery replaced, battery and charging system checked, body lubricated, cabin air filter replaced, drive belts checked, front brake pads replaced, rear brake pads replaced, glass checked, oil and filter changed. I don't think so. Rear brake pads replaced, rear rotors replaced, serpentine belt replaced, wheel lug nuts torqued, windshield replaced, wiper arms replaced, and wipers replaced. So they didn't have anything in there about the differentials. I'll eat crow on that one, but my God, there is no way that this was changed anytime before I purchased that vehicle. It's saying that the last oil and filter was completed at 170,241 kilometers in August of 2025. I have my doubts whether or not that was even done. Like that was like 6,000 kilometers ago. My God, that blows my mind. There's no way that they changed that fluid. So that concludes the oil and filter and both diffs being serviced. I think probably in the next couple weeks, I'll probably end up doing the transmission, because at least then I'll know that everything's good. I was just editing my video and I realized that I didn't do an outro. So here I am. If you watched all the way to the end here, I greatly appreciate it. My channel just hit 800 subscribers. World Rides is growing slowly but surely, and I'm quite happy with that, and it's all thanks to you guys. I think I'm gonna reach out to the dealership and ask them if there's anything that they want to maybe do about that engine oil thing. If not, it is what it is. It's a used vehicle. That's just the nature of things. I'm just going over some things to help people be informed buyers. If you watched all the way to the end here, I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.